Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. I'm just going to wait another minute in case we have some last minute people joining us. Okay, it looks like the participant numbers are quite stable. Thank you very much for everyone to join us this morning. I'm Megan McLeod. I'm a professor at the University of Glasgow and I'm the Associate Dean for PGR for our college, MVLS. And I'm hoping that all the potential students that have joined us today are interested in doing some research at the University of Glasgow in PGR. What we're going to do this morning is we're going to introduce ourselves, first of all, the team that are going to be speaking to you. We're going to go through some slides that will give you some information about being a student at the University of Glasgow. And then it's open to you guys to ask us some questions. So we have myself, a member of the team within the PGR, and three students who are current PhD students at the university. So you might have questions for all of us or some of us. We're happy to hear what you would like to know. So I'm going to start by passing on to Michelle, who's going to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Carmichael and I'm the PGR Administrative and Operations Manager for the graduate school within MVLS. And welcome today. I'll pass you over to Zuzanna.
Hi everyone, my name is Zuzanna. I'm in my final year of PhD at the School of Infection and Immunity, like Megan. My project's focusing on exploring the specificity of chemokine expression in early inflammation. Melanie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name's Melanie Bavici. I work at the mvls Graduate School as well. I'm a PGR application administrator. So some of you might have talked to me already.
Lastdes, do you want to go next?
Okay, thank you. I'm Michelle. So, hello everyone. I'm Lastdes. I'm third year PhD student in human nutrition. I'm from Indonesia. So, because I saw a lot of familiar names here, I'm working on weight management among women during the interpregnancy period. Thank you.
Okay, and I don't know if we've got Abbey who also volunteered to help.
We do. I'm so
Abbey,
sorry.
hi.
I can't change the name of my thing. I've been trying to change it so it's my student number. Apologies about that. Yes, I'm Abbey. I'm a second year PhD student. I'm in the School of Molecular Biosciences. So I'm based in the ARC and my work is on GPCRs and kind of their role in neurophysiology in the brain.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So that's the team of us who are here. And as I said, you're welcome to ask us questions once we've been through the slides. In the chat is totally fine. Or if you want to ask your question out loud, that's fine too. Michelle, can I ask you to share the slides, please?
Yes. Okay. Can everyone see them okay? Yes.
Thanks very much, Michelle. So I'm going to start and ask Michelle to move to the next slide. And this, you might be here for lots of different reasons to find out some information about how to study at the University of Glasgow and what we have to offer. So we're going to go through those types of questions that might relate to that through the slides. We're going to start off with why you might want to do a PhD here in Glasgow, how you might go about identifying opportunities to study at the University of Glasgow, and then how to apply for the PhD. And Michelle's going to talk particularly about those parts. Next slide, please. So this is one of the reasons why you might like to apply to the University of Glasgow for PGR research. We are one of the best universities to study in biomedical sciences and fundamental science. And you can just see some of the accolades here that we have, including ranking first for nursing and one of the top 100 biological sciences within the world. And you can see that we're accredited by a number of organizations that would be supporting your PGR research if you're in one of those particular areas. Thanks, Michelle. There are different types of PGR research at the University of Glasgow. That includes doing a PhD, so that's a substantial body of work. And usually if you're doing that full time, it takes between 3 and 4 years. And if you're doing part time, it's a bit more like 5 years. Those of you who may have medical degrees can apply to do an MD, a Doctor of Medicine, and usually that's 2 years, or some students do that part-time over 4 years. Or you can do a Master's in Science by Research, and that's where for a full-time position, you would spend a year in one of our labs doing some science, learning some how to be a scientist as well as the technical work in the lab. And you might do that over 1 year if you're full-time, over 2 years if it's part-time. So lots of different opportunities depending on where you are in your research career and what you want out of your time at the University of Glasgow. You can identify PhD opportunities at Glasgow in lots of different ways. A really great place to start is our own MVLS web pages, and we'll share links in the chat to allow you to identify where those opportunities can be seen. So those will be specific to the University of Glasgow. Many of you might already have found findaphd.com, where you can usually find lots of information about PhD and research opportunities across the whole of the UK. So that's a great place. You can search on the University of Glasgow and find out what opportunities we might have. Another way to do it is to contact potential supervisors. So you can send an email to a supervisor who you think they're the perfect person to supervise my PGR research. And if you're going to do that, I would really advise sending a specific email explaining why you're contacting that particular individual, how your background in research fits with the science that they're doing, and why they would be interested in helping you to identify opportunities for your PGR research. That said, there are kind of, oh, sorry, Michelle.
Sorry.
There are two different tell you about on the next slide. And those are specifically organized so that we have very defined deadlines. So you must apply to them in the opening phase. And usually we provide information about that between October and December. And then there's usually deadlines in January, February. So there you join a body of students starting at the same time. And likely you'll have questions about that. And we have some of our students who are joining us today who are on programs, and please ask us about that. We also have individual studentships that will be advertised for individual programs. So that might be where an individual lab head has a money for 3 or 4 years to bring in an individual student. So there you would be applying more directly to the supervisor rather than through the program system. And then some of you may be able to apply for independent scholarships or have self-funding, and there you're completely in control of where you might end up. And that's where you may be contacting individual supervisors to let them know about the opportunity that you might be able to bring to them and why you might be the best person to fit into their lab to do their research. Thanks, Michelle. So then just a slide on some of the PhD programs that we have. So this is where you apply to a program where we generally already have a good idea of what the PhD project might look like. And you can see that we have a number of different PhD programs stretching all the way from very defined precision medicine programs that ask about biomedical science to much broader ones about lots of different areas of science in Northwest Bio, research across the university within the James McLuhan Smith PhD programs, and then other ones that are linked to engineering within EPSRC or with a cross-college program that encourages interdisciplinary research. For this year, these programs are all closed. We're about to start all the interviews for the students that will start in 2026 in the autumn, and we hope to have new opportunities later on this year that you'll be able to find on our web pages about which programs will be opening and how much funding is available and how many studentships in each of those programs. Thanks, Michelle.
Okay, I think that's over to me
That's
now.
me. So Michelle's
Yes.
now going to explain a little bit more about how to apply for those different opportunities.
Okay, so to make a PGR application, you should first identify potential supervisors and reach out to them directly. So whether it's for one of the DTPs or one of the programmes that Megan has mentioned, or a standalone project with a supervisor that is advertised, or if you're making a proposal to a supervisor directly about a research project you would like to do with them, you should always reach out to them in advance before submitting an application. And please bear in mind that academics receive numerous emails, so you want to make sure that your email really stands out. So make sure that you address them properly, you introduce yourself, and you express your genuine interest in their research area. Highlight your background and your skills, but also make sure that it's very concise, so that they've got all the information there clearly and easy to see. When applying, you will be required to submit different documents, so your degree transcript and your degree certificates, 2 references, and an mvls cover letter template, which is something that's just been recently introduced. Which is available online, but I think maybe if Danielle or Melanie could actually share a link in the chat to the cover letter so that you have this, I think that would be quite helpful. And you should also upload your CV. For some of the doctoral training partnership programmes that we've mentioned, there might be specific pre-application forums that need to be uploaded. For example, one of the programmes do unconscious bias pre-application stage, so that should be submitted as part of your application. There's also an alumni discount as well. This is a good point just to mention this for anyone who's already graduated from the University of Glasgow. And if this is you, please make sure you do flag this to us. You can email the graduate school so that we can make sure this is applied to your record if you're a self-funding student. Okay. The entry requirements for our PGR programme is a 2-1 honours degree or equivalent. And for those who require an English language test, a score of 6.5 is required with no subtests under 6. Applicants with a degree from the UK, Ireland, or one of the countries listed here do not require the English language test. There is an exception for international students who have studied in Canada. They are still required to provide this evidence. Any other international students who are not listed, whose country is not listed here, do not have, will have to provide, they will have to provide their English language test results. So a PhD provides the following. Funded PhD programme provides tax-free stipends for either 3 to 4 years, depending on the funding that you've applied for in the programme. Also, university fees are covered. In some cases, this can include an international fee waiver, and research support costs are provided as well. And this is the same for usually the same for the individual scholarships. So if it's a academic advertising an individual project, this is normally the same. Normally the same is provided. For self-funded students, you should have a discussion with your supervisor. In most cases, the fees are required, which is the international fee, and some research support, which we refer to as bench fee. So the cost for this will vary depending on the project requirements. But you should discuss this with your supervisor in advance. The bench fee or research support costs that you will have to pay is also detailed on the offer letter when you receive it. PhD offers much more than just research. We have a framework that allows you to gain recognition for extracurricular skills. So this is to help provide you with an opportunity to develop transferable skills that you can use as part of your PhD, but also to help enhance your future career. So you will have access to a full range of skills, training, activities and events while you're doing your PhD. A bit more on this, we have a really good page on our website that details the requirements for each of the years of your PhD. And it includes some mandatory courses which have to be completed, for example, research integrity, data management or trusted research. And then out with that, there's a whole host of options that you can select. For example, there's a lot of courses on communication, whether that's presenting skills or writing skills. There's leadership courses and courses around innovation, whether that's IP or startup companies. And then there's also specific training as well that can be tailored to suit your project, and maybe courses on data analysis programs and what best suits your research. So your PhD training can be tailored to suit your needs. Okay, so thank you for listening. I've included our mailbox email address here, just in case anyone thinks of any questions after the event that they want to ask us. Please feel free to drop us an email. I hope you found this useful. I'll stop sharing my screen now so that we can speak to the students that have come along today.
Thanks very much, Michelle. So please feel free to add your questions into the chat and we can ask the right person to answer them, or maybe all of us. I might start by asking each of the students to let us know how they went about finding a supervisor or program. Zuzanna, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure. So while you had the presentation, I was kind of trying to remember how I actually find mine. Mine is definitely the individual studentship. I think it was find the PhD, or perhaps it was the MVLS opportunity web page, because I really wanted to be in Glasgow. So my search was targeted for Glasgow, and I applied, I sent the CV, I sent the cover letter, and emailed the supervisors as well, then waited for a response. Got an interview, and now I'm here. So that was my journey.
Thank you. Will we pass over now to Lastdes?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry if you hear something noisy because my colleague here also in the same room. So I think same as Zuzanna, similar because I'm a lecturer in my country. I'm from Indonesia. So first thing that I decided to go, I decided what country that I want to go because this is my first time as a study abroad. So I decided to have to continue my PhD study in UK, and then I decided U of G, and then went to the website, and I found the potential supervisor, and I checked their publication. I read some of them, and I make a list. I make a list of my potential supervisors, and then I email them personally, introduce myself, what I want to do. And during that time, I already secured the scholarship. So I think this is the important things that you have to tell your supervisor or your potential supervisor, or maybe you are still in the process of the scholarship. For example, you are shortlisted in the scholarship, or you already granted. Just tell them that you already have the scholarship, secure the scholarship, and then same as Zuzanna, I also attach my CV, and my two of my potential supervisor send respond to me and give a feedback. And if they're interested to our CV and our proposal, for example, they will ask to have appointment to meet in Zoom. And then, yeah, we had a Zoom that time. And after this, we have to decide it which supervisor that will that you think is the best work for you. And after this, we go to the application process. So before go to the application process, you have to understand or you have to decide it, which supervisor that you want to work with during your PhD study. So I think this is my journey. Michelle, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Abby, I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I did my undergrad in Glasgow Uni in biochemistry, and I knew my supervisor like a little bit through kind of the lectures and things for that, and I really liked him, and I liked a lot of the research that he was doing. And I kind of decided a master's wasn't really for me, so I wanted to get a little bit more experience in the lab because when I was in uni, it was COVID, and a lot of kind of the hands-on experience we weren't really getting at that time. So what I had done is my supervisor was spinning out a company in Glasgow Uni, so I applied to work at his company for a little bit. So I did that for a couple of years, and then kind of basically just kept saying to him, "Oh no, that I really want to do a PhD. This is kind of like the path that I want to go down." And he was like, right, okay. So we kind of then worked together to almost kind of write a project that we had want to do together. So I'm actually on a Northwest Bio PhD program. So kind of within Glasgow, there's different doctoral training programs that have loads of different projects, and you can kind of apply for that. And it's more of like a community cohort. You kind of have different training things that you need to do for your Northwest Bio as well as Glasgow Uni. So it's a little bit more work, but you feel really supported in kind of a training program like that because there's so many people and there's so many different supervisors and things. But yeah, it was kind of just, I knew the area that I wanted to go into. I worked with my supervisor in his company for a few years and then made the jump to kind of apply to go back into academia and do my PhD with him.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you found that useful. Does anyone have any other questions that they would like to
We
ask
have
at this
some
point?
questions in the chat now,
Okay.
Michelle. Maybe I can ask the first one, and that might be for you and I to answer rather than the students. And this is a question about opportunities available for international students to pursue a PhD in MVLS. There's PhD programs that show different eligibility requirements on the website. And this individual has lived in Scotland for a while and is asking about whether they need to have leave to remain visa to secure funding. Do you want to start answering that, or do you want me to start answering that?
Do you want to start answering? I don't know, Melanie, maybe if you might be better to come in here, or you could start, Megan, take it from there.
So the studentships that are available within programs, we usually can provide some fee waivers. So for those of you who aren't experts on funding within universities in the UK, for individuals who are considered home students, so that's usually UK citizens, and I think those with leave to remain, but Melanie, I hope will correct me if I'm wrong. They can have the UK home fees. Anybody else must pay international fees. We are able to give some waivers, so then we don't require additional money over the home fees to cover that. So in those programs, even international students don't have to pay any additional money to cover their fees. Usually for individual studentships, it's unlikely that we will be able to provide that opportunity for those fee waivers, so a reduction in fee costs. So there an international fee will count. So it is, I'm sorry, it's not very straightforward because it is different depending on which program is available and what route you come in. Certainly, if you come in through self-funding or through a scholarship, there would be a requirement to cover the international fees cost. Melanie, do you want to add anything to that?
Not not really, but if the person has been here for almost 5 years, they should, yes, qualify for home fees. Might be best to check this. We have information about this on the website, but that person would not need the leave to remain. If they've been here for this long, that they should be able to apply for home fees.
So we
Sorry.
are, thank you. We are keen to have international students at the university, and we do our best, but we are constrained by the requirements that the university has, and that's the same for all universities within the UK, that we do need to have this different level of funding for international versus home students. So I hope that's answered that question. We also have a question about whether there are programs available where people can move from an MSci degree to a PhD. Michelle, can you speak to that?
I'm just trying to think if I can.
Because I think we do, there are one or two programs where this is possible, but they're quite rare, is my memory.
Yeah, same. It's not very common. I'm just trying to think if I can think of a reason why they couldn't move. I think it should be possible. It might be worth dropping the mailbox an email so we can look into that specifically, but I can't think of any issues why they couldn't.
But I think we don't have many programs where you start intentionally on an MSci and then
No, oh
automatically
sorry,
remove to a PhD.
to PhD. No, we don't have most of them. They're just starting the PhD straight away. There might be the odd project PhD where they do the integrated PhD where they do the MSc in the first year and then move on to the PhD. But 9 times out of 10, it's just straight onto the PhD.
And then I see Danielle's answered one of the questions in the chat, which was about Masters by Research, in particular, in this case for nutrition. And what Danielle has said is exactly what I would say, which is if you are thinking about this is a particular project that I would like to study or an area, do feel free to reach out to supervisors that you can find out about through our university pages. As Michelle also said during the slide part of the presentation, do make that email quite specific. Many researchers get several emails every day saying, I'm a person interested in doing a PhD or a master's in your lab, without any specific information about the person or why they might be emailing you. If it says, I'm really interested in this particular aspect of your research, I read your papers and was excited about this part of your papers, that shows that you're really interested in pursuing your project with them and not just sending a mass email out to lots of researchers across the UK.
I also see a question around students asking about the training programmes specifically, because you can see on the main university webpage the link to centres for doctoral training, but I think it might be worth sharing the link on the MVLS website that lists all the MVLS doctoral training programmes that are available. It might be more specific to what the student's looking for.
There's a long question that I'm going to have to read to get to, so I'm just going to skip ahead. So we've had some more questions about Masters by Research and speaking to potential supervisors. So I think we've answered that one now. So here's a question. I think this might be a question for the students from someone who is an offer holder with a background master's in a particular subject and some teaching experience. How could the PGT program be beneficial for PhD studies? So I don't know if any of the students who are with us did a PGT master's before they started their PhD, or if they have friends or other students that they know who may have gone down that route. Potentially
I
not.
don't. No, sorry.
So I would say it's a difficult decision deciding whether you want to go straight from an undergraduate into a PhD or kind of test the water a little bit with a master's. And there isn't a right or wrong answer to that. It will be dependent on your level of experience and how confident you feel about starting a career in academic science. Master's, whether that's a master's by research or a postgraduate teaching opportunity, those provide different levels of information. If you're thinking about switching fields, it's a really great idea to do a PGT because you will get more teaching and more structure to your learning. For example, if you're a student who's excited about learning more bioinformatics before going down a particular route, you'll get the skills that you need to be a scientist in that area, as well as the practical experience. If you think you just need some more research experience, and Abby talked a little bit about that, you could work for a year, or you could think about a master's by research as a good opportunity to test that this is really the commitment you want to make before you start 3 years study as a PhD student.
There's
I can
another
see.
question here that I think, sorry, is just maybe worth highlighting, which is an international student from a conflicted area like Gaza, who's asking about full scholarship cover and tuition fee and cost of living. I think it might be worth sharing the link to the Sanctuary PhD, which is currently available for this academic year actually, but it's funding for students specifically like this in this exact situation. So I think it might be worth looking into that.
We have another question from an international student who's asking if they can do their research from their home country and have their supervisor based at Glasgow. I don't know if we've talked about this reasonably recently, that I think if you are a split between two different countries, there needs to be a clear rationale why you would be doing your PhD through the University of Glasgow. I'm looking at Michelle and
Yeah,
Melanie.
yes. So I guess,
I've sent a response, but yeah, like
Oh, perfect.
okay,
Uh,
Michelle can,
Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, there's lots of information there. Please let us know if we need to
yeah.
follow up on any of that. And here's a question about, I guess, particularly to our international students, whether they're the opportunity for scholarships. Do you want to talk about how you might go about finding a scholarship?
Yeah, sorry, I saw the question specifically for me about the scholarship. So, as I mentioned before I contact my supervisor, I've already secured a scholarship from my government. So this is the scholarship is from the Indonesia Endowment Fund for Education, or Indonesian people call it LPDP. So yeah, I already got the scholarship, and then I contact the potential supervisors. And the next question is interesting because how long to wait for the supervisor? Fortunately, I only waited like 15 minutes. So the tips is because I was living in Indonesia, so we have to know what time of the productive time in the UK. So for example, now in the UK is 10 a.m. Let's say it's productive time. So we can like assume people or maybe lecturer they're also in front of the laptop. They check their email. So I contact them during that time. So in Indonesia was like around 4 p.m. that time. And I contact them and I got like 15 minutes reply. And the reply is like, Lastdes, do you have a proposal? So after this, I just like respond instantly as well. And I send back my proposal. And I also try another university, to be honest. But for another university, I wait along like 2 months. So it's very, but I learned from my previous experience because I don't understand the time. I didn't understand what time that maybe they can respond my email. So you have to understand because we are in the different time zone. So yeah, in Indonesia, maybe it's 4 p.m. now, or maybe it's already evening. But in the UK, we are just start everything now in 10 a.m., for example. So yeah, this is what I did during the scholarship, and then how I contact my supervisor. 15 minutes, and I was so lucky that time. Yeah.
I'm going to move on to some questions about PhD programs now. And I can see that there's been a few in the chat. So hopefully, in talking about them, I'll cover all of the answers. And feel free, everybody else, to chime in. The questions were about applying for the PhD programs. And so right now those are not open for new applicants because we're at the interview stage for people who applied in autumn, winter 2025, 26. And so those are usually for both home and international students. And when we look at the applications that come in, our first shortlisting phase, we don't take into account the location for the where the individual has come from. So those are examined based on the quality of the applicants rather than where their resident country is. And then we do have the opportunity to provide full funding. So as Michelle said, that covers the fees, the stipend, and research costs for individuals who are successful in applying for those programs. You'll find on the website that there's often projects aligned with those PhD programs, and they're usually specific for those particular programs. It might be that the supervisor who's posted that project isn't successful in getting a student through that PhD program, so that project may still be open. And if you see that and think, I'm able to either self-fund or apply for a scholarship, then you might want to email that individual supervisor and say, I'm also interested in this particular PhD project that you had advertised through a program. Perhaps we could have a discussion if you haven't filled that position or if there's a similar project that you would be interested in supporting in myself doing a PhD in your lab. So hopefully that covers it. International students can apply for those programs. Most of those programs, I think not the Future Fellows program, and they will be examined based on their expertise and their experience rather than where they are coming from in the world. Other people who've read those questions, have I covered the answers to them? Thank you, Zuzanna, for nodding.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi there.
Yes. Oh, sorry. Can I speak, please?
Yes, please ask
Yes.
your question.
All right. Thank you very much. In the first place, I'm very sorry for joining very late due to a poor network in Sierra Leone, West Africa. I wanted to ask a question because I have applied for for a scholarship, but I don't really know how much scholarship I needed to apply to because I've already been admitted. How can I say it? I've already gotten what I call a conditional offer letter, so it remains the scholarship. So I applied to 3 scholarships already, but according to the information I got, it's like I only needed to apply into 1. So I don't really know whether I'll be disqualified because I applied for the Glasgow Excellence Scholarship and that of a humanitarian. Because due to the problem I'm having, I'm very sorry to say I'm an orphan because I lost both parents during the civil war in Sierra Leone. So education here is very challenging. I'm the only one that is trying to get a higher education among my family. So based on that, I also decided to apply to the humanitarian thing. So I don't really know whether I will be disqualified for applying into 3 instead of 1. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Issa, are you the one who's got an offer for environment and sustainable development?
Indeed.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's a top program, and we only administer research. But if you email the graduate school, we can pass that on to our colleague, and they'll be able to help you with that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
And just to say that we are recording this session, so if you have missed part of it, the meeting will be posted online, so you'll be able to work back through it. So you'll be able to look at the slides again and hear our answers to any of the questions. I have not seen what the updated questions are. I see that Danielle is answering questions already for us. Thank you. I see that someone's asking if there is entry directly from bachelor's to PhD. So as Michelle showed in her slides, we do require that everybody who enters a PhD through any route has a bachelor's in a relevant degree, and that's at least a 2.1. So that's kind of a higher second class degree. So there's not a requirement to do a master's. Sometimes a master's can help you get a PhD position, but there's no requirement to have done a master's before entering a PhD. I can see that there's some more chat and lots of answers from Danielle already. So we have a question about offers holders awaiting scholarship decisions in May. What would we recommend the timeline be for accepting the offer while they're waiting to hear back whether their scholarship has come into place? Melanie, is that something that you know? I think they can't accept if they don't yet know about their funding.
No, they can't
Yeah, I think they can accept the academic offer,
yes.
and that academic offer will stay, will remain, and the funding can come at any point before the academic year starts. So that will be in October time, roughly. Melanie, is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
While I double check the chat, I'm going to ask if the students can answer another question for us. And this is about you during your research time. If you could tell us about the opportunities you've had to either develop your training within your labs or something potentially transferable skill-wise, what's been important for you in terms of your training? Abby, will we start with you this time?
Yeah, that's fine. So I think there is a lot of training opportunities when you do a PhD, especially kind of within Glasgow. They have a site called InkPath where there's loads of different training programs. There's training courses that you can go on for different things that are associated with your research. I think my advice would be to kind of lay everything out with your supervisor when you start your PhD and kind of let them know what you would like to get out of it. I know a lot of people in my lab like to do a lot of outreach and kind of STEM things. So we're all kind of working with the STEM ambassadors programs and things. People go into teaching, people become representatives for different like people within the university. So there's a lot of kind of training that you're able to get while you're doing your PhD. One thing I would say is you don't want to get too kind of bogged down in all the training. You know, you are there to do your research at the end of the day. There's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of great stuff and it's going to advance your career in the long term, but you know, you really want to kind of get stuck into your research. And I would just say you really, really want to be very interested in your research topic. Don't just do a PhD just to do a PhD because it will not work out well. You really kind of need to like think about that going in and really, really think about what area you kind of want to be in for the next 4 years. But yeah, there's a lot of training. I've done quite a lot of things as well, and the supervisors are normally very, very lenient with kind of what if you go and say, oh, I'd like to do some data informatics or stuff like that, and it's not really that applicable to your projects. Most of the time they'll be like, yeah, you know, you can like you're advancing yourself as well within your PhD project. So there's a lot of training that is available that I have done. Don't know if anyone else wants to comment on what they've done.
Yeah, you've covered pretty much most of it. Sorry. So, for example, I'm doing a leadership program right now. Throughout my PhD, I became a class rep and also did a little bit of teaching for undergrads. And I felt like I would like to explore the route of leadership. And there's a lot of programs that can help you with that. What else? I did public engagement, so helped with the Glasgow Science Festival. That was a great opportunity as well that you guys also will have, and there are other public engagements and other programs, whatever you want to learn. One thing is that MVLS also kind of start introducing those teaching for this special skills that you need. So for example, for flow cytometry or imaging, the facilities at our university allow you to give you the training as well to develop those skills too, if you need to.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other questions coming through, Megan?
There's one about how long does it take to get an offer after application? Somebody is waiting for the offer letter so that they can apply for scholarships.
Okay, well, that sounds as if they're then applying for scholarships. They've not applied through any of the doctoral training programmes. So it would be worth maybe contact Melanie. I don't know if we have a turnaround time.
I'll just jump in here, sorry, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'll take my camera off so I can say hi to everybody. So I would say a couple of weeks. Give admissions a couple of weeks to process your application. It shouldn't really take longer than 3 weeks. If it is taking longer than 3 weeks for anybody to receive any information back from admissions, I highly encourage you to log on to the applicant self-service portal, which is the portal that you had registered on to submit your application, and double check that everything has been submitted. So we now have the MVLS cover letter, which is an official requirement for your application to be processed. I have also sent it into the chat, which I can relink in the chat so that everybody can see it. And just make sure that your application is fully submitted. Check that we're not waiting on any further documents from you. You can check the status of it. You can see where your application is at. So if you have any questions about that, again, log on to the applicant self-service portal and it should give you an update on where your application is at. If it is taking more than 2 weeks, please reach out to us and we can look into it and contact our admissions department. It looks like a lot of our current students are actually have experienced this maybe. Can you guys give any feedback on that? Sorry, you're on mute.
No, sorry, I completely don't remember.
Oh,
So
you don't remember
no,
now?
I don't remember. I think my PhD was a backup one to actually Masters by Research. So I care more about getting into the Masters by Research, which I didn't get in, but I got into PhD. So I'm sorry, I cannot help with that.
Any of our other current students?
I had applied through Glasgow Uni and then Northwest Bio as well through that doctoral training programme. So it was a bit longer than I think the normal Glasgow University portal is, just because they had to send all the information back to the Northwest Bio panel for then us to get told if we had got an interview or not. So it was a little bit longer. I would probably say about like a month and a half, I think, just for applying through that doctoral training programme. But I've heard of people that it's a couple of weeks if you're applying through the Glasgow University portal, or most people I've heard within that time.
That's helpful, thank you.
Danielle, that was super helpful. Thank you for jumping in. And Danielle's been working hard in the background, answering lots of questions. So if you have asked a question and we haven't addressed it in the conversation, please go back through the chat and you'll see that Danielle and Melanie also have added information and web links to the different programs that we offer. So I'm not going to re-put those links in, because there you'll find them in several places already in the chat if you go back through them. There are a couple of questions here. Someone's asked about the 2 types of master programs that can help you towards a PhD pathway. So we have the opportunities for top master's programs where you spend kind of half the year, just over half the year, doing courses, and that's both in terms of learning about the particular subject that your master's in, and then also getting some skills in asking hypothesis-based science or in thinking about how we do the science that's relevant to your degree. And then you usually spend about 12 to 14 weeks in a lab doing a lab project. And then the other type is master's by research, where there's much less emphasis on taught education and much more on being in the lab. So you'll be assigned to a lab throughout that entire year. And there's not a right or wrong for which one is more or less likely to lead you to a PhD. It's more about what is the way that is useful for you to learn about the subject and gain the experiences that are right for you. We don't discriminate between the two when we're looking at applications for PhD programs. So hopefully that's answered that question there. And then somebody has asked about somewhere on the webpage, we say that their priority will be given to underrepresented groups, and has asked for some more information on that. We have a particular PhD program called the James McLoone Smith, and that's only eligible for people who are within the UK, so they're domiciled here and have a background that's Black African, Black Caribbean, Black Other, mixed white, Black Caribbean, mixed white and Black African, or other mixed backgrounds. And I would encourage you to go to the website for some more information about that one. And if I am able, I can add that to the chat. So that's that one there. And there are other programs we don't have such a defined requirement for individuals, but we do try and take into account that individuals have come through different backgrounds that may be more or less likely to help them get into academic science. So we do often have an opportunity to people to add some information on how they may have had challenges in their life to access academic support or to be in the best position to get high grades in their undergraduate degrees. So that might be what the person's referring to on our website. We don't have any quotas in any of the other PhD programs that we offer. I think I have covered the questions that have come up that weren't answered by Danielle or Melanie in the chat. Danielle, have you noticed any that we've missed?
No, I think we have covered most of the questions in the chat. Again, apologies if we haven't. Please feel free to resend them in the chat, or you can take yourself off mute if you want to ask on the session. Or
there's one here that I don't think we've quite covered, which is around fully funding scholarships for MSCs.
So we do have a session. So this session today is talking about postgraduate research within our college specifically. So unfortunately, we're not the team really to advise on the MSCs, but we have shared the link to the full scholarship search portal, which is for all levels of study at the university. There is also other sessions on today at the open day. So this is the university online open day. So we have a session at 11 a.m. which covers scholarships, and there's also another session at 4 p.m. if the time isn't really suitable later on for everybody. You can register for these as well. So I'll send a link in the chat just now. So if there is specific information that you're looking for scholarships that's maybe for MSc or for a different college, you can go to these sessions and ask all your questions here, and they might be better to advise on that. I will send in the link in the chat for everyone.
Thank you, Danielle. So I'm just going to give people a minute to think if they have any more questions that they'd like to ask us. And as Danielle says, you're welcome to do that either through the chat or by raising your hand and unmuting yourself. And oh. So we've had a question that may be a specific question that we need to send to the international team, asking about international students from complex regions. What is the time frame for the CAS insurance after confirming acceptance, and the flexibility in the timeline if funding decisions are still pending? And that's not something I have any knowledge on.
I don't have enough knowledge on the time frame. I don't know if Melanie has.
Well, usually the CAS is issued within 2 months of your start date, but in your situation, I'm not entirely sure. It might be best to contact the admissions team directly for that.
Danielle or Melanie, can you post the admissions team email address in the chat for this person? And if there are no other questions, then I'm going to wrap up by thanking everybody who joined today and asked some questions or listened. And I hope that you have been excited about the opportunities to come and work at the University of Glasgow in PGR. And we've answered some of the questions that you have. As Danielle said, if you have remaining questions, you're free to email them to a particular team, so the MVLS Graduate School team or the admissions team. And as someone has just helpfully reminded me in the chat, Danielle's been recording this in the background and she is going to post that. Danielle, how will people know where to access the recording?
So it is going to be uploaded to the events webpage afterwards. So that events link that I have sent in the chat recently, it will be uploaded to there and it will be under the College of Medical, Veterinary and Life Sciences section, and it will be called the Student Panel session for PGRs. We'll also be uploading it to our own college web pages, so you will be able to search for it and find it. We can also reach out to everybody who's attended this session. We'll have your email address from you registering, so we can send it out to you that way as well. So you'll be able to watch the full thing for everybody who's attended and for people who have registered and are going to watch later on.
So yeah, do feel free to take the opportunity. And if anything is unclear, then please feel free to email to the graduate school, as I said, or admissions or the international team at the University of Glasgow, who will be happy to help you with your questions. So thank you very much for attending. And thank you to all the panel members who helped us out today, and particularly to Danielle, who's organised the whole event this morning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.